Yeah, I'm Örjan Lönngren and I'm working at the Environmental and Health Administration in Stockholm City. And we are responsible for the energy issues in Stockholm. First, we'll see that Sweden is a rather small country. We have only 10 million inhabitants. And Stockholm can be two things for people. It can be the region of Stockholm, and there we are about 2.5 million inhabitants. And we have also the city of Stockholm that has nowadays 950,000 inhabitants. So globally, it's a rather small city.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What have we done then about climate and energy issues? We started our work with this 1996 because we had not a good air in the wintertime in Stockholm, so we had to have instruments so we can see how the quality of the air was. And then we thought, why not see also how it is about CO2 in the Stockholm, so we could do calculations for that. So at first we did calculations for 1990, and we saw that the emissions were 5.4 ton per capita, and then we are only talking about emissions from direct energy use, heating, buildings, transport sector, gas and electricity. So it's not about consumption. So now I will talk mostly about direct energy use. We work also with the consumption issues, but we had just started that work the last year, so I hadn't so much to talk about that. As you see, we have here, the politicians were presented this figure, and then they said, well, could it be possible to come to 4.5 ton at 2000 and then we had to make an action plan. So we make an action plan, and in the first plan we thought it wasn't possible to 2040. So at that time the politician said it perhaps is more realistic to take 2050. But now we have a new political wing, and they said, no, it's too late, we have to do it 2040. So we have to change our plans to make it a little bit faster than we first thought. We make action plans for every 4 years because the elections are every 4th year. And so we make the plans together with the politicians, and they are responsible for 4 years, and because of that we do it together with them and see what can they do in the period where they have the power. And they take it in the city council, they have to take the decisions, what is the goal for the next 4 years, and then we will look at what do we have to do year by year. So we have goals that we are pointed out. What can we do? Plans for phasing out coal. We have, fortunately, 1 coal plant left in the district heating system. So we now see, is it possible to close that down? And the politicians said 2022. And we think it can be possible, but it's much to do so we can reach that. We have peak loads, then we also have some fossil fuels. We have increasing of using waste heat in the district heating system, increase renewable power, of course, and the very big problem is that we are burning fossil plastic in the district heating system. But now we are talking about it together with companies. Is it possible to change it to other materials? And I heard yesterday that even Europe will work hard with that work, and that's very, very important, not only for the climate. Plastic is a big problem in the oceans. And also natural in the transport sector, fossil fuel-free road transports, free shipping. We think we are also responsible for the shipping coming to Stockholm, and also with the air traffic to the airport we have in the city of Stockholm. We have responsible for that, so we even have to see how much emissions is that transport systems. Yeah. And for the period of 4 years, we do exactly calculations. We see how much CO2 emissions can we reduce from the district heating, and we do it together with the company and negotiate and see was it possible for you to do the next 4 years. And they say, well, we can reduce it with 240,000 ton. Good. And we do it by line, by company, and we'll see. So it really is realistic calculations. And we follow it up every year to see, so we really will reach the result 2019. And as we saw, if we look at the politicians' goal, we should come to 667,000 ton, and the calculation said that yes, it is possible to come to that a little bit higher, perhaps a little bit more we can reduce. But I think it's the only way we can work with this is to do it together with the society, the whole society, and really have realistic figures. So we really have realistic goals. And what do we then do? This is Hammarby Sjöstad. Most of the work we have done is in heating and cooling of the houses. We have a district heating system that is rather big, with plants, only some plants. Here is one outside Stockholm, but it's connected with Stockholm. And we have, so totally we have 5 district heating plants. But we have no oil boilers at all, I can say, in Stockholm. We have around 600 in small houses and around 400 in bigger houses. But totally maximum 1,000 oil boilers in the whole city of Stockholm. And I would say in 5 or 6 years we have no one left. And we have no gas boilers at all. So we have mostly the heating comes from the district heating system. And there we have, we produce about 8 terawatt hours of heatness, 1 terawatt hours electricity, and a half terawatt hours of cooling. And nowadays the fossil is a little bit around 10%. It will come down quickly if we close down the coal boiler that we have, the coal plant that we have. And the market share is 80% of all buildings in Stockholm are connected to the district heating system. And the other 20% are geothermal systems with geothermal heat pumps. Yes, we heard about Hammarby Sjöstad. It's situated there. It was the first renewable environmental city district. We are not so... it was a problem when we constructed that. It was something is good, but we think the houses wasn't so good there. The planning of the district was good, and how to take care of water and waste and so on. We have good systems, but the energy consumption in the houses are a little bit too high. So I understand, Alan, that you are working hard to make that lower. But now we have a new district, Royal Seaport, situated there. And there we try to get further on with the energy use in the buildings. The national code said that you should make a new houses with about 80 kilowatt hours every square meter for heating and warm water and electricity. But in Royal Seaport we say 50 kilowatt hours every square meter. And also that, we don't do it ourselves, we negotiate it very hardly with the companies and see what is possible for you to construct. And together we can come. Only 3 years ago it was 55 kilowatt hours per square meters, but now the company said, well, we can go further on. So we said, okay, let us try to make it better. Yeah. And we also have to do very much about the old buildings. Most of the city are already constructed. So we have to make the older buildings better. We can make better isolations, better windows, solar panels on the roofs and so on. So we make very much about our own houses that the city are owned, and we do it also to inspire the private sector and see if we can do this together. We could produce about 15 or 20% of all electricity is possible to produce on roofs if we really put photovoltaic cellars on every roof that is sun-shined. The most and the hardest job we do about transport, it's about how if we will transport all this, one person in a car, one person in a bicycle, and in each bicycle, and the people in the bus. It's about space. It takes very big space to transport people in cars. And the city is already constructed. We have the streets we have, so we have to do something so we can transport with buses, with bikes, and goods have to be transported. And the private traffic has to transport in another way. With the bike, with public transport system, or something like that. We haven't space for private cars in Stockholm. So we have, as a city, we do a very hard job to see that the cars that we need are good cars, that are clean cars. And we can see that 10 years ago it wasn't sold so many clean cars, and now we have very much of clean cars sold. It's about 40% of all new cars sold in the city of Stockholm are a clean car. And a clean car can be a little different fuels in a clean car. As you see, the biofuels in road traffic is also going up very quickly. We have congestion charges to make so only you have to pay to come into Stockholm, and that's a success because we could decrease the traffic with 20% and the emissions with about 10 or 14%. And we got better air quality. So that was fantastic. We had to do much about the public transport system to build it out, have good buses, and as you see, we have 100% of all buses in the city are nowadays powered by renewable fuels. And as Alan said, we are working very hard to make all buses electric. And as I have heard, in 5 years, all cars in the inner city of Stockholm are electric buses. So, what have we done? As you see, we have reduced the emissions mostly in the heating and production of warm water. Even electricity has gone down about 25%. The problem is transporting, that we have the same emissions 1990 as we have today, but the populations have grown from 650,000 inhabitants 1990 to 950,000 nowadays, and we have the same emissions from the traffic. So, well, we have done something, I think. And if we see it, how is it per capita? And per capita it has go down. So, is it possible to be a fossil-free city 2040? Yes, it is possible. Thank you.